If you're a nurse, a licensed nurse, a midwife, you need to watch this video. There's a change that's just come through where one lender has offered to waive lender's mortgage insurance for nurses with a 10% deposit. This is the same deal as they're doing for doctors. For years and years and years, we've been crying out to the banks, why do you have a two-tiered system? Why do you treat doctors and specialists, vets, dentists, a certain way and waive their lender's mortgage insurance, but not nurses? But it's finally happened. It's finally dropped. One of the banks has come out and said, yep, we're going to waive the lender's mortgage insurance for nurses. So if you're thinking about buying a property this year, if it's an investment or home to live in, and you're working as a nurse or you've got a partner that's working as a nurse, then you need to keep watching this video. So today we're going to break down all the changes that have just come through with the nurse lender's mortgage insurance waiver. We're going to go through who it affects, what the eligibility criteria look like, and what it actually means if you're thinking about buying a property this year. So starting off the top, what is lender's mortgage insurance? Lender's mortgage insurance is an insurance that's there to cover the bank and protect the bank if something goes wrong with your loan. Typically, this is a one-off fee that can be a few $1,000s. In the case of, in general, if you have less than a 20% deposit, the banks will charge you lender's mortgage insurance. It gets added to the loan and it sucks. Like, you've got to pay it to get in there. But like I said, it can be 10, 20, I've seen up to $40,000 lender's mortgage insurance fees paid just to get access to that loan. The good news with this offer, it means that nurses get the same deal finally as what doctors, physios, chiros, all that sort of get, where the bank is going to waive the lender's mortgage insurance if you have a 10% deposit. They're not going to even charge it. They're going to completely waive it. They're going to take on that risk because they're saying like, hey, finally, we actually agree. Nurses are pretty low risk. They're not as high risk as, a normal grower like me and the general public, and sort of waive the mortgage insurance. So what is some of the criteria? Well, firstly, you need to be working as a registered nurse, a nurse in some capacity. You can be in aged care. You don't need to be in the hospital system. You could be working, private. You could be working in practice. Pretty much, as long as your job title on your payslip says that you're a nurse, that's their main criteria. They've at this stage not said they want to see sort of the APRA or any other registration documents, which is pretty interesting because with doctors and sort of physios and chiros, you have to check that sort of like allied health registration, but this isn't required. They have said anecdotally you may need to show sort of your nurse practicing certificate, but if it's on your payslip, which a lot of times if you're working sort of in the public health system, it'll have like RN or surgical nurse or midwife on there. That's completely fine. Casual is fine. So if you're, it can be typical where you might be working 2 or 3 jobs as a nurse, and you might be doing one as casual, one as permanent part-time. You might have, a bunch of different income loading, that sort of stuff. But yeah, casuals, no issues. Generally, they'll want you to be in a casual role for 6 months, or if you've had sort of at least 12 months, history in the similar sort of nursing role and you've moved around to different hospitals, that's going to be all cool. Interestingly, with overtime, if you're considered a frontline nurse, so if you're pretty much in a hospital, or they consider you under sort of the emergency services policy. So what that means is they'll use 100% of your overtime. So this is pretty handy in the next point I'll make as far as income criteria. But a couple of other banks, when they're not as familiar with sort of nurse income, and as you'd know, like with your own income, the base salary is only a small component. You'll get sort of meal allowance, you'll get overtime, you'll get like uniform allowance, sort of all that different stuff, and so this bank will actually use 100% of those on top of your base to use your income to get to. Probably the only downside with this one is the income criteria. So to be eligible for the 90% no LMI nurse waiver, you need to be earning over $90,000 gross income, sort of excluding super. So like I said, that can include all your sort of overtime, your salary, meal allowances, all that sort of stuff on top of there. Generally, the way they'll kind of check that is either sort of looking at your year to date, or they might want to see like your PAYG summary for last year to show that you earned over that. So I guess if you're just new to sort of the job, you might need to look at some of the other schemes with the waivers that don't have the sort of income criteria and eligibility requirements there. There's still the first home loan deposit scheme that you might be eligible for depending on your income, but definitely this scheme's pretty amazing, if you're looking at getting in there and getting in the market. And the other thing that I think the next point that's pretty awesome is that this is available not just for first home buyers, it's available for anyone that's working as a nurse on both a home to live in, so if you're buying a home to live in, obviously, or on an investment property. So it's huge. You could buy an investment property, put in a 10% deposit, and get the lender's mortgage insurance completely waived. So if you're looking at sort of buying, expanding your portfolio, if you're wanting to put in a lower deposit, you can potentially do that with only a 10% deposit and save on those sort of lender's mortgage insurance costs. As far as the rates and eligibility, they've said it's going to follow in the same way that they treat doctors. So they see, sort of doctors and medical professionals and certain professions as sort of lower risk. So there will be a bit of a sort of two-tier interest rate scheme brought in on that. So that's pretty humongous. And it's not all banks. So there's only limited. Well, this is only one bank at the moment, St. George, who's sort of rolling it out in the next week. So if you do want more information, definitely hit us up, huntergalloway.com.au. We'd love to help you out. Like we're mortgage brokers. We help people all around Australia. We actually help a lot of nurses. We've got a whole web page dedicated to nurse home loans that I'll include in the comments below. I guess, some questions I'm sure you're probably going to have is what happens if I don't meet the eligibility criteria? What if I'm new? I've only just started working. I don't make the $90,000. Can it be combined? Like if, I'm a nurse and my partner's, a teacher. Can they use our combined incomes? Unfortunately not. It's only the eligible professional. So it's only the person that's the nurse that they'll use. If you're a nurse that's earning $50,000 and if your partner's, like an accountant earning $100,000, there's some different professionals that are potentially still eligible for the mortgage insurance waiver. So hit us up because we can see if you're going to tick that, or otherwise, like I said, if you're a first home buyer, there's potentially the first home loan deposit scheme, the home guarantee scheme, the regional home guarantee scheme, which is getting refreshed and coming out next few days. So I'll have a video on that. So it's pretty awesome. How does it sort of reduce, or I guess, can I get a home loan if I'm on probation is probably another question. Yes, definitely. Like I said, as long as we can sort of show the last couple of years, progression, like at least 12 to 24 months, working as a nurse, we can do that. The next question is how much deposit do I need? So to be eligible for the scheme, you need a 10% deposit plus your stamp duty. So if you're, for example, a first home buyer in Queensland, stamp duty is waived on a purchase under $500,000. So you just need to pretty much have your $50,000, 10% deposit plus some costs, and the stamp duty is waived. If you're buying in other states an investment, then you need the 10% plus the stamp duty to cover your sort of deposit. Or if you're in an existing property, you can use equity, which is pretty awesome. There's definitely something to kind of keep in mind there. How much is lender's mortgage insurance? It can be tens of thousands of dollars. We've got a whole lender's mortgage insurance calculator on our website to sort of show you what the difference is. But like I said, literally on a say $500,000 purchase with a 10% deposit, the mortgage insurance is about $10,000. So it's pretty humongous. This is a massive scheme. So if you are a nurse, if you're working as a midwife, you definitely want to check it out. So hit us up, huntergalloway.com.au. We'd love to help you out. And if you have any questions, leave a comment below. Otherwise,